Hello, it's Molly Reamer with 30 Days of Goddess and Bridget's Grove, and welcome to February. Our theme this month is Inspire, and the goddess we will be honoring is Bridget. A reminder that you're still welcome to participate in 30 Days of Goddess, whether or not you work specifically with a specific goddess. We're drawing inspiration, encouragement, nourishment, and additional layers to our practices by focusing on certain goddesses as the year unfolds, but there's no expectation or obligation that you necessarily adjust your own practice to include those goddesses. So I did want to be clear about that as we begin. So inviting you to take a nice deep breath, letting yourself settle into your body, allowing yourself to come into presence with your landscape, with what you're learning from where you are right now, letting your breath drop into your belly, calling your spirit back from all the places it has wandered, and then extending your awareness to sense what's happening in your world. For me, there's sleet right now, steady and cold. The sky is gray. There are birds on the icicle-covered bird feeders. So let yourself drop into your time and your place where you are, and let that inspire you, and let that continue to inspire you as the month unfolds. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with a reminder from the back of the February prayer book. We are invited to come home again and again. We are invited to connect again and again. We are invited to begin again and again. We're invited to remember again and again. We are invited to notice again and again. We are invited to pause again and again. We keep our promises to listen to ourselves, to live our magic, to build our trust. We discover that when we show up for our own lives, the sacred shows up too. And that is one of the things that I've emphasized really since the beginning of 30 Days of Goddess. I think that's its deepest and most powerful teaching, is that when we show up in our own lives, we can trust that the sacred will show up too. So, as I said, today, this month's theme is Inspire. So inviting you to consider what inspires you. What inspires you? What creative projects are knocking at the door of your awareness? Where do you find inspiration? Do you have a margin in your life for magic to let that inspiration come through? I feel often perhaps maybe more awash with inspiration than one person can actually handle. And so I have some poems to read to you later on about tempering that fire. I think one of the things that's really important about Bridget is she's a multi-leveled, amazing goddess with so many different aspects. And so she has that holy fire, that sacred flame, that burning enthusiasm, the burning inspiration. She also has the healing water, the soothing well, the healing touch. So we need both the sacred flame and the healing water. And I think she's a perfect goddess for balancing that. Sometimes we need to temper our flames. We also need to let our passions, our creativity, our inspiration blaze. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with Bridget a little bit this time. As you know, my business is called Bridget's Grove. We've been in business for 10 years now. Our anniversary is Imbolc, February 1st or 2nd, Bridget's Day. And so Bridget obviously has a very special place in my heart and a role in my life. And we specifically selected her for our business's matron goddess because of how fully she embodies so many things and so many aspects of our own work. So the poetry aspect, the sacred words, the smithcraft, the metal work, the hands-on work. And then it's kind of past for me now, but also her role as a protector or midwife, a guardian of mothers and children. And I was deeply involved with La Leche League work and childbirth education work in my past. My roots are in birth work. And so she has a special place in my heart for the birth connection as well, even though that's not as active or present in my life anymore. But when we started Bridget's Grove 10 years ago, that was very active and present. So there's the bringing together of the smithcraft, the healing words, the sacred words, and the midwifery all into one. And as time has gone on, I've seen that in many ways, Bridget is a goddess of hard work. She really is. That fire of inspiration can be kind of relentless. She is a serious goddess. I think sometimes people get a little more, they're a little more wary of goddesses like the Morrigan or Hecate, but Bridget is pretty much a task mistress, and there's a lot of her fire to temper, or a lot of her fire to moderate, almost, so to speak, remembering that we are a little human person with 2 hands and 1 brain and a need to sleep. So anyway, one of the things I want to talk about and how we have drawn inspiration from Bridget throughout the 10 years of our business is that it really has been a guidepost for us, or a theme of our work, to follow the inspiration. So you will see on your little card, the little Goddess Guidance sticker, I follow the inspiration. That is a core affirmation in our life, our work, our business, our creative expression, is to follow the inspiration. And how this comes up for me is that at the end of each year, when we revisit our year and we do our business planning and visioning, I always am full of ideas and visions for the year to come. But something that I realized when reflecting on the year that has passed is how many things take place that I could not have envisioned or designed at the beginning of the year. And that's because I follow the inspiration. The inspiration unfolds throughout the year. And if that's what I mean about margins for magic. If we've crammed our lives so full that we can't follow the inspiration, or we don't have enough margins for magic. When I say margins for magic, I mean white space in our lives for the sacred to speak, for to dialogue with divinity, to dance with desire, those margins of our lives. We need space in the edges and at the center of our lives in order to sense that magic, in order to lean into the expansive, in order to dialogue with divinity, in order to express ourselves creatively. We need margins for magic. That's one of my core lessons from Walking with Persephone, and it's a core lesson in my own life, is we have to leave wide margins for magic, or we will feel starved for it. And things that want to come through won't be able to come through. So following the inspiration has been utterly central to me. And I find that I tend to want to be almost like a different kind of person, to box myself up and have a master plan at the beginning of the year that unfolds neatly and doesn't include any bad surprises or flat tires or root canals. But some of my best work, some of the most beautiful things that I create, some of the most powerful work that I create comes because I follow the inspiration, because I didn't box myself in, because I didn't plan in January what I was going to be talking about in June. I let June teach me what it has to teach me. And so that is very interesting. And I also think we wouldn't create everything that we do if we tried to map it out at the beginning of the year, because it would seem like too much. A year, interestingly, both is a long time and a very short time. When you look at it, you're like, okay, you have 12 or 13 opportunities to see a full moon in a year. That's not very many. A year is not really very long. And so sometimes we have really big visions for ourselves for a year, and we have to realize that a year isn't very long. And at the same time, if you cast your mind back to last February, it can seem like an eternity ago, and so much has happened. I myself wrote multiple books, lots of things have changed that I couldn't really have envisioned if I had mapped it all out at the beginning of the year. So let me see. Yeah, we have to be able to change and respond to what is happening, to the inspiration as it arises. And as a creative person who's focused my whole life around creativity and creative expression, you really do have to seize the inspiration, seize the moment, follow the inspiration, listen to the muse, and do the thing in order to do the thing. And so I had 2 poems to share about that. These were related to my Omen Days. So if you're in my Goddess Magic community on Patreon, you received this Omen Days booklet with my poems, and I made a little set of cards for everybody about that as well. But I had 2 Omen Days poems that I wanted to share with you because they speak to this experience of following the inspiration and not boxing yourself in. And so here we go. It is the 9th Omen Day. And this was written while we were at the beach in January. It is the 9th Omen Day. My dreams are vivid and wild. I wake feeling as if I have been defending myself. The sky is wide and clear. The wind is gentle. My tea is dark chocolate chicory. My rune of the day is the sister's rune of friendship. We walk in a different direction, not wanting to have to drive today, and walk until our path is blocked by a crane as in the machinery, not the bird. We almost feel like we are on a different island, staying as we are on a different part of it, a series of assorted obstacles giving us a sensation of having our own secret beach. We watch a series of barges and tugboats hauling impossibly massive lengths of pipe stretched between them on floating supports. We skirt past mounted boulders placed in a frail human effort to hold back the will of the sea. We feel the sun and waves replenish us, soaking into our skin and opening space around our hearts. I feel like I'm not finding my poem today. Sometimes you do have to work for it, I say. You have to try to uncover it or discover it. Maybe that is the message. I am thinking about the omen days and how they form a message or a shape for the year. While I already have themes picked for each month of the new year, for 30 Days of Goddess, fresh themes and fresh symbols are arising now in this moment, not able to be designed or pre-planned or intentionally arranged, but emergent and responsive, something that is alive in this connection of this moment right now. This is why I sometimes have trouble promoting what I do, I say, because this is real for me. This is a living practice. It isn't something I can perform or plan or describe in advance. I can only discover it where it is as it unfolds. And suddenly, I have both my poem and my message, because this is a living practice, and here I am, living it now. At the boardwalk, we pause to watch a monarch butterfly delicately dancing over the grass in an unseen understanding of its life's own rhythm. After tea and lunch and making muffins and planning what videos to record, I return to the shore to finish my poem. And as I type these words, the monarch returns, lightly skimming across the sea oats and into the blue beyond. So this was really, really core for me this month, is the reminder that this is a living practice. This is something that we are living and experiencing and bearing witness to as it unfolds. That's the margin for magic. That's living our magic. That is following the inspiration. And also being present with what's arising. I respond to what's arising. What I see outside, what I feel in my body, the temperature of the room, the books that I'm reading, what my kids are doing, how I feel. I respond to what's arising. I'm present with what's arising. And so what's arising in June is not the same as what I feel in February. And so it's okay. That's okay to trust that arising and those influences instead of pre-planning it all out, while still following the inspiration. So likewise, back to this 10th, so this is the 10th Omen Day as the messages continue to crystallize about unfolding and arising. It is the 10th Omen Day. A small hawk is on the roof when we wake. The sky is clear and open. My word of the day is present. My rune of the day is the sun, rune of healing. May I heal my relationship with time. May I be patient with my own pace. May I be present in and for my own life. We walk towards the waning moon, pleased to find that other than a fox, ours are the only footprints between surf and tide line. We walk for 7 miles, lured on by sun and shells. We comment that we haven't seen the oyster catchers yet this year. These are the black and white bird version of ourselves, scurrying along the tide line looking for treasure. We watch an osprey flying overhead with a fish clasped in its talons and watch the dolphins wildly thrashing in the water, leaping so high we see their tails. A few minutes later, we do see the oyster catchers in the surf after all, long red beaks sorting busily through the sand. We smile and kiss each other, feeling such a sweet certainty of belonging. On the long walk back to the car, I step out of the present and into the realm of the imaginal, awash with plans and possibilities, thinking about things to do and future trip reservations to make. I quickly get sharp and snappy, trudging over the sand, feeling misunderstood, as my husband patiently points out how I am planning to step right back into the pattern of overperforming that I claim to long to liberate myself from. This is how I entrap myself, ensnare my spirit in a web of too muchness instead of claiming my life's own daily choices as a site of my own liberation. He is right, and I reluctantly let go of my shiny new ideas of massive overcommitment and future strain, dissolving back into the sunshine and shells. This is a living practice. I participate in the unfolding as it occurs. I cannot box it up and plan it out and chain myself to a past day's dreaming, a former self's yes. The heart of my own spirituality is in the arising. I must follow the path as I discover and experience it in the present. I must live my life as it unfolds. I must bear witness to the living tapestry of each day. Must follow the inspiration where and how she is, not as I tidily imagine it to be. I need not create more than I can hold, produce without ceasing. I need to be here to discover what unfolds, present for what arises, for what emerges. When we return, the hawk is on the satellite dish. I sit in the sun with my eyes closed, listening to the wind and the palm leaves, leaning into the unfolding. So interestingly, as I was having these experiences and saving these quotes and poems to share during this month's video, I then was, I came back inside and I was making bread dough for cinnamon rolls. And I was trying to find my bread recipe, which I have memorized, but I wanted to verify my own memory. I did a little search in my phone, my notes, to find the recipe for bread. And as I did so, all these other poems in which I've used the word bread came up. And I thought, this is the example of following the inspiration. All the pieces connect, and I found all these other poems that I'd forgotten about from multiple years in the past that use the word bread, and it all started to come together, and I put together what ended up being about 30 pages of notes for this video. I'm not going to go over all 30 of them, obviously. I pick and choose, and then some of them end up in our monthly guidebook instead of on video. But I was doing that and I thought, this is the same thing. This is the living practice. I'm following these literal or figurative or metaphorical breadcrumbs of inspiration, but I was actually making the bread at the same time. So I'm kneading the dough, thinking about bread, looking at bread poems, and then patching together the breadcrumbs into what will become a later practice. And that's it. That's the margin for magic. That's responding to the arising. That's listening. That's participating in the unfolding. That's leaning in to the unfolding and following the breadcrumbs and the inspiration. So I wanted to share that little experience with you because I felt like it was alive in that very moment. This notion that when we follow the inspiration, the doors keep opening, the breadcrumbs keep being scattered, and we find where to go next. I wrote in the Woman's book that the path is made by walking, and that's what we do. Our path, our practice, it's a living practice. It's made by walking, not by trying to do it right or follow all the rules, but the path is made by walking. And that's another thing that led me to the thought about ordinary pilgrimages in our own lives too, because we have to keep our promises in our own lives as they are, not in the life that we imagine that we'll have, or only in ritual or retreat space. I think it can be really easy, let's say, to travel to a conference or to go to a circle, and then you feel all centered and serene and all that kind of stuff. But the daily practice is about reconciling the dream, the vision, or the lofty ideal with the actual shape of our lives and keeping our promises day by day, like the poem at the beginning, again and again and again, not necessarily lofty and bold, but quietly and bravely persistent and continuing, not giving up because it's not as grand as we envisioned, or because we missed something or we didn't do everything we imagined. Lives are busy and full and complex, and being a human involves a lot of components, and we do have one brain and two hands, and the need to sleep. And it is, so there's this ordinary pilgrimage, the keeping our promise to our own lives, in our own lives every day, instead of to the grander vision, so to speak. And that's going back to the living practice idea. Like, I can't present this to you as tidy and finished because, or what to do, because it's a living practice. It's unfolding right now, and we share that experience together. And so I'm going to go ahead and share a quote now from the guidebook that I put together. And this is from Patricia Monahan in The Goddess Companion. She says this: "The universe dances around us and through us. Why is it so easy to forget that it is our nature to ceaselessly grow and change? Even when we sit silent and still, our breath flows and our blood courses and our mind whirls. Even when our life seems calm, inner forces bubble and surge, moving us towards new actions, new ideas, and new insights. We celebrate the goddess when we fully engage in this dance of life. As the Shawnee people of the Great American Woodlands realized, we most honor the Universal Mother by participating in her creativity. Life smiles on us most when we mimic her dancing spirit. We are each the dance and the dancer and the dancing goddess. It is our task as children of the earth to dance the most beautiful dances we can. Dances composed of the innumerable instants of our lives. We do not control the setting, we do not control the lighting, we do not control the costumes. We control only the dance, the movement itself, the way we move through the circumstances of life. And that choice takes place in each moment. The most important choice we can make is to live gracefully in that moment." And so that brings me to this thought about kind of two brains or two needs. And this is one of the ones that came up during my breadcrumb experience. Let me see. Just a second, I gotta look at my many pages of notes. Oops. Yes, here's one of them. Sometimes all I want to do is sit in the sun and listen to the waves. Sometimes all I want to do is lie on the earth, moss against my cheek and sunbeams on my shoulders. Sometimes all I want to do is listen to the sea song or wind in the branches. Sometimes I feel all done producing or consuming or generating or creating or learning, and all I want to do is soak in the current of now, watching, listening, feeling, and being exactly where I am. No lessons, no insights, just the pure open heart of awareness bringing me home. And that is the thing that I think is very interesting. And I have a little excerpt from another poem, which it says, sometimes I wonder if people's attraction to detachment-oriented spiritual paths is because it hurts to care so much about so many things. It would definitely be easier to let it all go, to draw inward, to become still, overlooking the fact that the nature of life is to be in motion. Yes, there can be stillness at the center, a steady core from which we radiate, but a universe dances in ourselves at all times, a river of constant energy and change. And so sometimes we can use that admonishment to, it can be, I say sometimes, beware spiritual self-help, it's perfectionism in disguise, trying to argue with our own selves or cure ourselves of being human. And so it is not wrong to have many ideas and passionate inspiration and lots of creativity. And sometimes we can use being still and calm and centered almost as a way to shame and blame ourselves or to berate ourselves for that true nature of being human, which is to be in motion, to be a force of creativity in the world. So there's kind of like two brains, so to speak, at work there. And the thing about them, so that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. I'm starting to get into my time here. But this is why we sometimes feel conflicted or at war with ourselves, this conflicting, competing social, cultural, and even spiritual messages. They can be internal and they can be external. There's an older part of our brain that wants to keep us safe and low risk and doesn't actually want us to change and grow because the point is to keep us alive. This part can also be self-sabotage. This is the part that says, lie low, stay safe, sleep and eat a lot. And it is true that self-care can sometimes become self-sabotage, an excuse for letting ourselves or others down. The newer part of the brain is the part that dreams and reaches, that pushes us to create and change and inspires for more. This part can become burnout or pushing too hard. So we need both, the part that wants to lie in the sun and bask in the time of rest, and we need the fire, we need the creativity, we need the sacred forge, we need to hammer our goals into being. We need to express ourselves creatively to reach and change and grow. So honoring those two parts of ourselves, those two brains, they're both worthy and they're both real and they both affect our lives and how we interact, how we relate, and how we treat ourselves. So the dominant culture favors one side, which is pushing, reaching, no rest. But at the same time, we can flip too far the other way and focus only on self-care to the neglect of community care, to the neglect of following our inspirations, to the neglect of listening to that sacred creativity in our own lives. So encouraging you to balance and work with both. My own habit is to, well, I'm going to skip that. But anyway, my words of the year are companion words, liberate and replenish. And I really think they can hold hands because we need both liberation and soaring outward, and we need to be able to replenish. We need harmony in both things. And so there's a separate Goddess Guidance video explaining the packet that you receive for this month and the guidebook, so you'll find that as well, the guidebook and our Goddess Guidance package, which can then be assembled into a nice, nifty little oracle card there. And then, so we've already gotten to the end of our time together for this month. So welcome to February. I hope you keep following the inspiration. I'd love to hear what your experiences are and how you experience that dance of motion and stillness in your own life. What moves and what is still. I do have a poem about that is in our book, Stillness and Motion. And so I'd like to go ahead and close with that. Then I have one more little closing blessing and we'll close for today. So stillness and motion. Sometimes I feel critical of my constant motion and endless drive, a full blast faucet of creativity and ideas. Sometimes I wish I could quiet the roar, but not really because it's my lifeblood. But then I watch the birds. I am still on the porch swing, drinking tea and feeling the sunshine. They are never still. They are constantly in motion, zipping between trees, busily pecking at branches and investigating remnants of berries, conversing between one another, preening and polishing, dipping and diving. They alight in one spot for less than 30 seconds before they are off once more on the next task. Sometimes we shame ourselves for not being better. But maybe what we really need to remember is to keep spreading our wings, taking flight into the wholeness of our own lives, which are rich with motion and alive with activity and opportunity. Being is not synonymous with perfection. We need to protect a place for stillness, yes. May we also protect room for ourselves to fly, to experience the arising and to follow the inspiration. So inviting yourself to settle into your body once more, with a deep breath of both liberation and replenishment. May you discover the power of showing up for your own life, meeting yourself and the goddess in the union between sacred sameness and infinite change. Reveals to you what is already there, the mystery of life and you uncovered in this plane where listening and desire, divinity and purpose meet. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to another month of practice, and keep following the inspiration. Keep trusting yourself. Keep leaning into the arising and the unfolding. Keep living your magic. Thanks so much for being here. Bye-bye.